What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of JaAR. JaAR, for those of you that may be new, stands for Joe
and Amy
Review. This is our weekly show where we review the magic stories. First of all, happy Halloween. We hope that you all enjoy the holiday. Hopefully you're all celebrating, doing fun things. You're more than welcome to let us know any and all of those in the comments, because we would love to hear it. This week, we are here to review the continuation of The Gathering Storm by Django Wexler, specifically Chapter 17.
Halloween's my favorite holiday.
Sorry.
So, leave all the comments.
Yeah, let us know if you dressed up, what you dressed up as. Yeah. Was it magic related? Was it not magic related? Any and all things in the comments below. Did you see any particularly interesting costumes? Do you like Halloween? What's your favorite part about it?
What candy did you get when you went trick-or-treating? Or
what candy did you buy if you're staying home and giving to trick-or-treaters?
And really just eating it yourself?
God, yeah. So yes, anything and everything. Definitely fuel. What are you, a ghost? A skeleton at this point?
Skeleton.
That's fair. Let the skeleton know in the comments down below. So, my quick review at the top for Chapter 17 was, this one was probably one of the least good ones of the bunch. Again, not to say it's bad, because my God, have we had bad recently, and this is not bad, because it's still Django Wexler. He's still a great author, he's still a great writer, his imagery is spectacular. But comparing Chapter 17 to the first 16 chapters, this one is one of the... This is on the lower end, for me personally. Okay. What about you? What are your thoughts?
I liked it a lot. It was more tropey than what we're used to from Django Wexler. I think that's maybe why you didn't like it as much.
I'll get to why I didn't like it as much at the end. It's like the last thing. But... Which maybe just left a sour taste in my mouth.
It was a little tropey, but I thought it was cool.
Okay, fair enough. So then, I mean, that's our somewhat split review at this point, but that probably just means that you should read it for yourself and form your own opinions, because that's really what we'd always like you to do.
Almost like I say that every episode.
Well, no, and that's perfectly fair. Again, there have been stories where both of us have been like, you know what,
just
skip it.
Spare yourself.
Yeah. Let's clarify. Those are other stories. There has not been a single chapter from this book, from this novel, as it's been sent to us, where we have said that even in the slightest. Right. And even me saying that I didn't like it as much does not mean that I would say skip it. It's on the lower end, and to be fair, there has to be a lower end. They're not all up here, right? There's some variance there, and this is just...
Used to be.
Yes, and this is just on the lower end, for me personally. And again, clearly Amy disagrees. So again, if you'd like to break the tie, so to speak, again, it's not, we're not contentious about it, but those are our opinions, and so please feel free to form your own, and then join us in the comments below. We'd love for you to go read it and then come back here, of course.
And then say how I'm right and Joe's wrong.
That's usually what happens anyway.
I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. I actually want your real opinion in the comments.
Yeah, definitely. So we start at the beginning with bars and taverns around Nivix, and Amy, you pointed out I mentioned that it seemed like Rahl was going to the hipster bar, right? And you said, of course, or something to that effect?
No.
Or were you the one that said that?
No, they described the bar, and I said, oh, so it's a hipster bar.
Oh, that's right, and I was the one that said...
And you were like, oh, you don't think Rahl is a hipster? And I said, I never said that. He absolutely is. and then they started talking about the types of people that were in the bar, and I was like, okay, maybe it's not so much of a hipster bar.
Well, Rahl mentioned that it was pretty full because of the fact that the work has been ramping up in that area around Nivix, and so a lot of people had time off, and he knew that, and so they were kind of all there for that. But you also noted, which I thought was a very astute observation, was that the person who sent Rahl the message through Elemental, or Courier Elemental, told Rahl to meet at that location, specifically the Smoking Wreckage.
Which meant that they knew him.
Right. Because it was a place...
Because if they're going to specifically sit there and say that it was a place where Rahl, of all people, liked the ambiance, then obviously the only reason why they're meeting there is because the person knows him pretty well and knows that he likes that bar. And so then we come to find that it was Lavinia, and of course it was.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Yeah, because she is...
It's like, well, you could have said something. She's like, blow my cover much?
Well, not even... No, she even said, like, you're a hard man to get a hold of because you're always with someone. Like, you're never alone. Right. So how am I supposed to walk up to you and talk to you when that's the blow my cover much moment. So, yeah, no, that's fair. I do have to say, getting a little meta for a second here, what's more hipster? Going to the hipster bar or being an author who is writing about a hipster bar and getting to name that hipster bar something punny? Because I don't actually know, but the smoking wreckage being the place that all of the is it go when their experiments fail.
Yeah, it's like super
and
meta.
End up in smoking, in the smoking wreckage.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's here. So I guess that goes with your tropey comment where that's just the thing these days, right? You
Yeah, probably like when you walk in the door, there's probably one of those like hang in there cat signs, like right? No?
Maybe. I didn't love the parts of the story with the flipping of the switches and the conduits and everything. Maybe it's because I just wasn't getting an accurate picture in my head of what was happening, but it was attempting to build tension this whole time, and I just didn't feel it. I was just like, okay, can we get through all this description and just find out if it works or not, or how it fails, because we know it's going to fail. So I guess I was a little...
That was the interesting part to me.
Okay, there you go. So that's what I'm saying. So I was having trouble immersing myself, but it sounds like you were well and truly immersed then.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So yeah, maybe that's
that kind of shit.
Yeah, well, but maybe that's our tipping point then for why I said I didn't enjoy it as much.
Right.
Because it really was that personally wasn't really for me, and I think that's purely personal preference. Because I think if it were a visual medium, maybe. I think I guess also a little bit about Amy and I, a little bit more, because we've done this in JaAR before, where we talk about the differences between us. You much more understand electrical engineering-esque things than I do. I couldn't tell you a damn thing about a circuit and switches and completing the circuit and lighting the light bulb, and that stuff is not something.
That's because my dad is an engineer.
Correct.
Or was an engineer. At this point, he's more of like a glorified maintenance man. But his career was that he is an engineer. But so there's a very low level of that stuff that I know.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, those things just really intrigue me because I'm so not like that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how a machine works. I can walk up to a machine, hear it whirring, see it working, and I will have no clue how it's doing what it's doing, right? And my dad is very opposite that way, and one of the kids I used to nanny for was very much a sort of an engineer in his mind as well. He could kind of like see some sort of mechanism, in a commercial, let's say. Mm-hmm. And then he would just find things around his house and build it. But not just build it how it looked, build it so that it worked, right? And that concept is just so foreign to me. I'm just so not like that. Even though my dad is very much like that. Mm-hmm. So it's always been intriguing to me to kind of even get a little bit here and there from just spending time with my dad or spending time with anybody who is like that, because mm-hmm. I am so opposite of that. So
yeah, that's fair.
So maybe that's why, so to me that's interesting, that's intriguing, that's something I want to listen to, because it will always be a mystery to me.
Yeah. No, that's a fair point. I mean, it's something I was really never exposed to. Okay. It's something that, like, we learned about it in tech in, like, middle school. Just the basic concept of a circuit, right, and how to complete it or whatever. But that never stuck with me outside of that room. It just never had to. And so, for me, I guess I was going into it, going into each of these scenes, because there were two like major scenes, right, where that was happening. And for me, I was going into this scene and I'm thinking to myself that it's not really very relatable, because it's talking about like stuff that's so far over my head, and I don't even understand the basic concept that would be mirrored in the real world, so I can't relate to the broader concept in this magic-based world and how that works with the Mizium and the coils and the switches and the nodes and...
Well, and that's why giving so much description was important there.
Mm-hmm.
So you had, a foundation to work off of with your imagination.
Well, and as we've said in the past, maybe for me then, that portion of this story, and or just this whole chapter, could have used a rereading for me.
Okay.
To better understand it, especially because, the whole time, if I'm truly just sitting there saying, all right, tell us what's going to happen, just get to the end already, I'm not interested in sitting here waiting. Now that I know what the ending is, maybe I can then further or better immerse myself and say, okay, now I can picture what it looks like that, it's up on the 10th or 11th floor, but you have to go down to the second floor to like fix the power and like reroute, power from this to this. And I just didn't know what I was reading about. And so to me, it was just like, all right, I'm lost. Just tell me what happens and move on. Like,
yeah, see, I'm so the opposite of that. If I'm sitting there in that moment going, I'm so lost, I don't know what's happening, that's when I'm like on the edge of my seat, right? I just want to know what's going to happen next, because ultimately I'll find out how it worked, right? But I want to hear everything I can hear about it first.
Okay. No, that's fair. Well, and so again, let us know your thoughts as well. If you remember this scene well enough, if you read it a little while ago or if you read it recently, is this something that you were, on the edge of your seat and into the suspense, or were you just like, all right, does it work?
Okay, cogs are whirring.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Thanks. Flip the switch already and tell us what happens. Or were you somewhere in the middle, of course?
Yeah.
Maybe
you understand that stuff so much more than either of us do, so that you can leave some sort of comment that will, I don't know, make us feel like we're learning things. Yes. Make us learn things.
Yes, well, that's always the case, right? That's one of the things that we love the most about doing this kind of a show. I also, one thing I did enjoy from that kind of section, right? It wasn't exactly about that, but it was done in that section, was where Raul mentioned after flipping like the first or second switch, as the electricity starts sparking and connecting from the first to the second node, etc. And he feels the ley lines kind of shifting and the guild pact kind of shifting. First of all, I loved that. I loved the description of that and how that worked. But I also liked how he mentioned the mages on Ravnica would know that was happening, but they wouldn't necessarily clue into what it was. Like, they would feel the magic shifting, but they wouldn't fully get what was going on, or very few of them would get what was going on. And I appreciated that.
Unless, of course, they knew the plan ahead of time, which they probably would not.
Right. But I also liked then, again, I guess speaking from a meta perspective, I appreciated that it truly is, right? They're manipulating the mana from the land.
Right.
It's the game, right? Now we're getting into the flavor of the game itself, whereas, you can like look at something that Raul's doing and be like, oh, that's like his +1 ability on that one card of his, right? So that's a meta way of looking at things. But this was truly like bare bones game mechanics of, you tap a land, it produces mana, you use that mana to harness it to cast spells, right, as a mage. And so that aspect of it I really liked, because I feel like it's been a very long time. In fact, probably since the last time we heard from your girl Nissa, where we heard about something to that effect of like, no, yeah, the land, right, and the land's tap for mana, right? Obviously it doesn't say those words there, but you understand that that's what that means.
Right.
That the mana produced by the land, or drawn from it, through the ley lines that run through each and every plane in the multiverse, can then be harnessed to cast magic. And that's how the game works. I like that. because again, I feel like it's been a while since we've had that bare bones of an allegory to just the flavor of Magic as a game. So I really liked that moment. Then we get to the mystery of who the agent was that Lavinia was following. Rahl thinks it's Tezzeret. I wasn't so sure. Did you have any guess at all?
Well, I was hoping it wasn't Tezzeret simply for the fact that Rahl thought in his mind that it was Tezzeret. It's like, don't tell us the answer and then have there be all this suspense of finding out who it is and then it's the answer. You know what I mean? Like,
I was with you.
Have a twist.
Yeah, no, I was with you.
Or, you know, or don't tell us, you know. Just have Rahl say, oh, I have a suspicion.
Yeah.
And we don't get to know what he's thinking.
Right. Well, I was with you, though. I thought because he mentioned that it was Tezzeret, that it wasn't going to be Tezzeret. In fact, I thought it was going to be Dovin Baan, but I thought that it didn't make much sense for him to be walking alone where Lavinia would have been able to follow him, especially when she kind of notes that the Thopters were around, because it just didn't make a ton of sense.
Dovin Baan would be difficult to follow.
Yes, agreed.
He would be aware of it.
Correct. Precisely. Plus, I don't envision Dovin Baan ever putting himself in a position where he would need to walk alone at night with a cloak on.
Right.
With a hood up.
No.
Just not.
Can't see that.
Plus, if Lavinia is paying any kind of attention, presumably she would have noticed a flash of blue skin somewhere. Like at some point. Where she would have been like, it's clearly a Vidalcan, but we don't know which one. And like at that point then us as readers would have been like, oh, it's Dovin Baan. Like clearly it's Dovin Baan. Because she's looking for the agent of Tezzeret. Or of Bolas, excuse me. But, as Amy pointed out correctly, it is Tezzeret. And, again, I also thought it wasn't going to be Tezzeret because when we read War of the Spark, I'll get back to that later, but when we read War of the Spark, Tezzeret was not on Ravnica. He was on Amonkhet, holding the gate open.
Right.
Now, to be fair, gate's not open yet, so he doesn't have to be on Amonkhet.
Right.
But it just was weird to me because, it was like, oh, I didn't even think he came to Ravnica at all.
Right.
So that was the other thing where it was like, it's not going to be Tezzeret. He's not even here. Well, he was. Right, and I'm assuming he will go back very soon if he has not, outside of the story, gone back already.
Right.
So there was that. I liked the joke that I told myself in my head. Curse you, Dovin, and your sudden but inevitable betrayal of the entirety of Rahl trying to get the machine working, and Niv Mizzet finally figuring out that it was Dovin that betrayed them.
Finally.
It took a very long time, but there it is. And so that leads me to kind of my last point of this whole story, unless there was something else that you had.
I feel like this has been a quick episode. But
yeah, I
feel
agree.
like there wasn't a lot of things to really go deeply into.
Well, and let's see how much longer. I mean, you all watching have the benefit of looking at the timestamp below. We don't know how much longer we're going to be talking, but
and I can't see the display at all. It's just a big blurry spot because I don't have my glasses on. So.
That's because skeletons don't wear glasses.
I
know. Here's the last point I wanted to bring up, and maybe we talk about it for a long time, maybe we don't.
Okay.
How great would that last line of that story have been? Of Niv Mizzet saying, Dovin Baan has betrayed us, if we hadn't read War of the Spark already. And I wrote it here in my notes. We could have probably assumed it from Kaladesh as well.
Right.
But there would have been doubt since it wasn't in the story at all. Like, these stories were supposed to have been written / come out during Ravnica Allegiance and Guilds of Ravnica. Obviously, I mixed up the order of those two, but you all know what order those sets came out in. Dovin, the fact that Dovin is going to be in War of the Spark was not something that was really revealed to us that early on. In fact, at that point, we might not have even known yet what the name of the third set was, although we did eventually. The timeline is messed up in my head because all of the timelines are messed up in my head. Yeah. No, all of them are messed up. But regardless, Dovin being truly an agent of Bolas, I guess the information that eventually either leaked out or was revealed was that there would be planeswalkers controlling some of the guilds, and those would be guilds that would be loyal to Bolus, like the walkers would be working for Bolus in some capacity, and that was Domri, that was Dovin, that was Kaya. Who else am I missing? Veraska, thank you. And there was a fifth that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head. But regardless, those were and you can tell me in the comments, I'll probably think of it at some point, but those were the planeswalkers that were being shown to us as controlling the individual guilds and kind of supposed to be turning them to Bolus's side. Right. Obviously, it didn't work so well for Kaya, and Domri kind of did it after the fact, like way later. Right. But, at the last minute.
To basically no effect.
No. Well, I mean, he died. That was an effect.
Well, not the desired effect in any way.
But yeah, so I just, that could have been such a cool ending to this chapter.
Right.
Such a cool ending.
Instead of me sitting there going, finally they figured this out.
Right. And then it's the end. And again, maybe that's another reason why this chapter was soured for me, is because it ended on, a slow fart of, it was Dovin Bond. It's just, who cares? We know this already. We've known it for months now.
Yeah.
So that's what you end your chapter on when no one knows that that's the big reveal.
Right.
But because we know that that's the big reveal, who cares?
Right.
Why? And again, it's been very good. And again, this is not Django Wexler's fault. It's not.
No.
Because he's not in control of when his story comes out, or how far after War of the Spark his story comes out, or Guilds of Ravnica or Ravnica Allegiance.
Or what pieces of his story are spoiled already and what pieces are not.
Right. Or the fact that the story that comes after this one came before this one. It's not his fault. So his writing is not what is poor here. The fact that we knew that information so heavily, to the point where I don't know, even if you didn't know a single thing about the War of the Spark novel, you would presumably still know that Dovin was working for Bolus in some way, shape, or form. This story did a very good job of not cluing you into that at all leading up to this point, though. At all. They had Dovin on the up and up the whole time.
Right.
Those of us that knew what to look for, maybe you had a little bit of an inkling, but there was nothing that actually showed you that.
Right.
Nothing.
I agree.
If there was someone who didn't know and was able to assume it, that's cool, right? Then it's good writing, again, because it allows you to clue into those things and kind of figure it out for yourself
and
be
own conclusions.
Right, and be happy with your detective skills or whatever you want to call it in figuring that out. But it's not spelled out the whole time where it's we're now hearing from Dovin's perspective, and Dovin's sitting there going, well, these fools think that I'm on their side, but they don't understand that I've been working for Bolus the whole time. It's clearly not. He's working with Tezzeret, he's messing up the node or whatever. So now that Dovin has betrayed them, now that this has fallen through, there's 3 more chapters left. 3 more. That's it. I've heard good things about Chapter 18. I've heard good things about Chapter 20. That doesn't mean that Chapter 19 is bad. It just means I've specifically heard good things about 18 and 20. I hadn't necessarily heard good things. I had not heard anything. I don't want to say I hadn't heard good things, because that implies that I'd heard bad things. I hadn't heard anything about a lot of the other chapters as well, except for maybe 10. But going into it, I'm looking forward to next week greatly. I'm looking forward to 19 and 20 as well, because we're getting near the end, and that I'm not looking forward to. Because then after that we have Forsaken, and we have the Wild Earth Quest. Now again, props to Kate Elliott. I've heard good things about the Wild Earth Quest as well. But we have Forsaken as well, and again, still what we said last week, and Amy and I really haven't had a chance to talk about it. That's my fault for not remembering to bring it up since last week, but we haven't really talked about whether we will try to do Forsaken first or Wild Earth Quest first.
Right.
I just think it makes more sense to do Forsaken and stick with the War of the Spark, only a year later instead of much, much longer than that afterwards, before going on to the Wild Earth Quest. But we will see. Stay tuned to the channel. You will find out what's going on.
Or
with that.
leave your suggestions in the comments.
Yes, I think we said that last week as well. But yes, as always, any and all thoughts that you have on scheduling, whatever, you're welcome to leave them. We don't promise that even if all of you say,
we're gonna do what we can do.
Right, exactly. Even if all of you were like, we want it done this way, like we're going to do everything that we can to put out the best stuff for all of you, but we also have to be realistic for ourselves.
Right.
So we will try to do that. Also, I will say, tonight after we film, because it is Wednesday and we are leaving shortly after this, to go join our friends Dave and Claire on twitch.tv/DAM314. At the time that this video is out, if you are watching it on YouTube, that has already happened, because that is how time works. First of all, you should be following us on Twitter, because we will tell you whenever we're going to do those fun things. And by the time this video comes out, you won't know that. And our arena videos, if we film them early enough in advance, we don't know that we're going to be doing that. So we can't really let you know in our Monday videos that this is happening on Wednesday.
Right.
But Wednesday nights, every Wednesday night, to be fair, you should be watching whether we're on it or not. The Weekend Wednesday at twitch.tv/DAM314 usually starts around 8 or 9 p.m. Eastern Time here in the U.S. And again, we highly encourage you to go check that out. Dave is an incredible human being, and his community, the Garnted Cult, of which I am a co-founder, is fantastic. They're an amazing group of people, and we highly encourage that you go check him out.
Yes.
Also, shout-outs to Saratoga Comic-Con. We were there with Dave this past weekend, and it was an absolute blast.
Yes,
both
thank
days. You. Speaking of an amazing community, those people are so nice. Both the vendors and the people attending the convention.
Yes.
We were staffing tables with insane games, so shout-outs to them as well. It was incredible. It was a great weekend, as it has always been,
right.
Because we've been going for the past like 5 or 6 now, and I'm not getting bored of it. I really enjoy myself.
We won't be making it to the next one, however.
Yeah, we'll be busy. But it is like May 2nd and 3rd of 2020, so
yes,
if you're
your
anywhere near the Saratoga, New York area, you should check out Google Saratoga Comic-Con. You should go. Again, you won't see us, but it's still going to be a good time.
You will see insane games.
That's true. And Dave, DAM314 on Twitch. So definitely go check those guys out. Those are big shout-outs. They're people that we appreciate greatly. We would not, it's not a sponsorship necessarily. They're just good friends and good people, and you should go check them out. So, and again, if you go to his channel, you'll be able to watch the VOD, the video on demand of us joining him. We are going to be joining, again, Dave and his fiancée Claire in playing some Jackbox Party Pack 6.
Yes.
Because that is a tradition. The game came out recently, and it's been a little while since we've played any Jackbox Party Pack games with Dave and Claire.
We will be in costume.
Yeah, because it will be Halloween. So definitely go check out that VOD. I was with Dave the week prior to that. You can check out that VOD as well. There's a clip from that I posted on Twitter that was... I loved it. It was
also
so good.
Halloween themed in that particular video.
Oh, yes. Dave's been doing that for kind of all of October, trying to do spooky, spoopy, whatever you want to call it, games for the month of October every Wednesday on the Weekend Wednesday. So, yeah, he's been doing that. We played through PT. So definitely go check that out. It was a really good time. So... that's going to be it. Thank you all so very much for putting up with those shout-outs at the end. We really appreciate it because, seriously, we love each and every one of those people, and they deserve the shout-outs that they get from us. That's why we do it. And, again, not sponsored. If we were sponsored, we would tell you, and we would tell you why we were allowing them to sponsor us or, joining in on that. But for now, that's not the case. We just love them, and you should love them too. But that's really going to be it for us. We have other things that we do. On the internets, on the YouTubes.
Check them out.
Definitely. There are going to be things on the screen everywhere.
Yes, check out our other channels.
Yeah. YouTube is how YouTube does. So subscribe, like, comment, check the videos. On these particular videos, JaAR specifically, you leaving comments and talking to us about what we talked about in this video, giving your feedback, your opinions, etc., is a great way to join your fellow Vorthos and us in showing off your...
Hashtag Vorthos Pride.
That's right. It sounded like you were going to say something else, so I would love for you to say that before I cut you off.
Okay. Please check out my new channel, Gluten Free for All.
Still with the 4.
Yep. at the moment has one video on it.
Just the one.
But I am very, very, very hopeful that I will get the second video up prior to the end of this weekend.
Ooh, okay.
So, because I want it to be, because it's to a point Halloween themed as well. So the two videos that will be up on that channel will be my experiences with the Great Eldraine Bake Off. So please check those out.
Amy put a lot of work into it, both the research beforehand, the cooking during, and the editing afterwards. So
because it was the first video I edited ever. so
go check it out.
It's not the best, but it's on there. Please check it out. Please check out the second one, which I am still in the process of editing, and I will have up on there by the end of this coming weekend.
Yeah, so definitely check that out. That'll be, I'll see if I can do 3 subscription boxes. I'll see what I can do. But check it out. It'll be here on the screen, or I might just put the video up here for you as well. We'll figure something out, but regardless, it'll be up at the end, or just search Gluten-Free for All, same as Geek for All and Video Games for All, and you can check out all of those things. So, for now, from us here at what is growing to be the Geek for All family of channels, I have been Joe.
And I'm Amy.
And as we always say, in whichever video of ours you watch next, we will see you all next time. Thanks, everybody.